Good evening, everybody. It is June 27th, 9:05 at night. Sorry, I look like crap today. It is hot as hell out there. It is like 82 out and it's this late. What the hell? Whatever. It is what it is. It's summer. But anyway, so like I said, middle of February, my best friend moved down to North Carolina, and I had horrible stomach pain, but wasn't throwing up or anything. Just had belly pain, a little bit of constipation, but whatever, it is what it is. And went to work for a couple weeks, and just things were getting progressively worse at work. And finally, the weekend, like the end of February, I just was like, you know what? I'm done. I can't deal with it. But I sucked it up. I took a couple days off because I wasn't feeling well. And I finally was like, you know what? Maybe I'll go and get a COVID test being done. And I didn't think I had COVID, but I was like, you know what? Just to be on the safe side, I better get this COVID test being done. So I went and got the COVID test, and I got the results back within like 48 hours. It came out negative. I was like, okay. So I ruled out COVID. Like, that's not it with the stomach pain. And I'm like, you know what? It's probably just because I miss Sarah and just stress from work. Because work had been really stressful, especially since after Sarah left. And I'm not blaming Sarah for any of this. And I was just like, it's probably just that. So I was like, okay, now what? So I literally, much to my chagrin, I just walked out of work. I didn't go back or anything. I had given my boss my 2 weeks notice and told her because of health issues I need to leave because so I thought my diabetes was wearing me down because I was tired all the time and stuff like that, even though I had it under control. And but this stomach pain and with my heart, I was like, I don't know what's going on. Fast forward March 16th, it was Sean's birthday. We went out and I got him dinner from, I think, his favorite place. I think we got it at Wendy's. I'm not sure. I don't normally eat a lot of fast food, but it's his favorite food. So I got him Wendy's, and I also bought a birthday cake for him. Well, the cake was delicious. I mean, probably should have had it, but it was good. Um, the next day, March 17th, his cousin, also I call her our cousin because she's the sweetest person in the whole world. Love you, Tanya. Tanya calls me in the morning and she's like, hey, why don't you come over? I got some for Noodle, which is what Sean's whole family calls him, for his birthday. If you want to come over and get it. Okay, no problem. So I leave and I go over to her house to get Sean's birthday present from her. I knock on her door. She comes to the door and she's like, when are you going to tell me you're pregnant? And I said, Tanya, I am not pregnant. I don't know what the hell you're talking about, but I'm not pregnant. She goes, yeah, you are. You're pregnant and you're having a little girl. Okay, when did you become psychic? But no, I'm not. She's like, well, after you leave here, I want you to get a pregnancy test. Okay, sure. So we talked for a while and everything, and I told her about how I was feeling and stuff like that. And she's like, yeah, you're definitely pregnant. I said, I'm definitely not. So this went on for a few minutes of the banter, but all in love and stuff. So I leave Tanya's about 5:30 in the afternoon and stop at Dollar General on the way home. And I get this pregnancy test. I get the cheapest one possible because I knew it was going to come out negative. I'm like, there's no way in hell I'm pregnant. I'm like, I got too much shit going on with the diabetes and everything. There's no way. So I get the one that's only $1. So I get home. Sean gets home soon after, and I said, "Let me take this pregnancy test." He goes, "What do you mean?" I told him what Tanya had said, that she thinks I'm pregnant, and he goes, "Well, when was the last time you had your period?" I'm like, "I don't even know." So I look back on my notebook where I always put anything crazy or irregular happens if my sugar's high or if it's low or whatever reasons, and I always put when I get my period. So I know if my sugar's all crazy and out of whack, it's because of I have my period. So I looked, I'm like, well, the last time I had it was January 18th and it's March 17th now, but I don't know. I guess we'll see. And so I go in the bathroom, go and take this pregnancy test. It was within seconds. It came out positive. I yelled at Sean to come into the bathroom, and he's like, "What, you don't know how to piss in a cup?" I'm like, "No, I know how to piss in a cup. I'm just saying, you need to come in here." And he comes in, he's like, "Oh my God, you're pregnant." I'm like, "No shit." And we were both laughing about it. And then we were both like, "Oh my God." I've probably never been so scared and excited and frightened. So many emotions were going through my head all in a matter of seconds. And Sean didn't talk for a little bit. Not until like a day or so later, he didn't talk about it. Because he was scared and at a loss too. And after I took the pregnancy and found out I was pregnant, I was like, "Oh my God." He's like, "Go get me the cake." He goes, "I need cake." And as I go to get the cake for him, I drop it all over the floor. I'm like, "Great, this is wonderful." So I tell him what happened. We cleaned it up and everything. It is what it is. And so I was like, "I'm pregnant. Oh my God, I'm going to have a kid." And prior to that, it was weird between the stomach ache and everything. Like, Chloe was all on my lap, rubbing up against my stomach, licking my stomach, and I thought she was just being a weirdo. Because normally Chloe's all over Sean and everything. She's more of a daddy's girl. Sid's the one that's always on my lap. And I thought she was just trying to make Sid jealous, not even thinking that she was trying to tell me, like, "Hey, you're pregnant, Mom." I'm like, and I probably would have just ignored her anyway if she would have talked, but she's a pug and she can't talk. But who knew? So later that night, after we took the test, about like 45 minutes to an hour later, I call Tanya. And I said, "Tanya, you're right." She goes, I told you. I'm so excited. I'm going to be an aunt. Da, da, da. So excited. She was already planning the baby shower. I'm like, "Dude, I don't even know how far along I am, much less throw a baby shower." But she was over to the top excited. So after I talked to her, I called the nurse at Dr. McAvoy's, who I became good friends with, Kelly. I called her. I said, "Kel, what should I do? I just found out I was pregnant." She goes, "Well, we'll have to talk to Doc in the morning and see what to do. What medications you stay on, which ones you shouldn't." Okay, cool. Um, so the next day comes around and she told me, she goes, "You just need to get off the Lipitor." She goes, "Start taking prenatals and everything." She goes, "But get off the Lipitor." All right. So I did exactly what I was said, and I made an appointment with the midwife. I hadn't had a pap smear in like at this point like 5 or 6 years. So when I went to go see her, Dr. Shannon Wilson, she's like, "Well, we're gonna have to do a pap smear and everything to see how far along, and also because you never had one before, and go through all kinds of blood work." Okay, whatever I gotta do, I gotta do. This was March 19th, I think, of 2021. So she tells me, she confirms, she's like, "Look," she goes, "you're about 8.5, 9 weeks along, And she goes, "You're due October 25th, 2021." I was over the top excited. I'm like, "Oh my God, it's going to be a Halloween baby." And she's like, "We just got to really, really crack down on everything, watch everything you do. Because of the baby, you're a high risk pregnancy, being diabetic, and your age." My age? 35 old to have a baby? Okay, sure. I didn't even know I was going to ever have a baby. But okay. I sucked it up to I was always going to be a pug mom. And she's looking over my medication and she's like, "You're on metformin?" "Yeah, 2,000 milligrams." She started chuckling. I said, "What's so funny?" And she's like, "They didn't tell you?" I'm like, "Tell me what?" She goes, "Metformin also could be used for a fertility drug." What? No, they never told me this. She's like, "Well, that's probably what happened. You finally got your body under control, your diabetes and everything." She goes, "So everything in your body's now functioning properly." Okay. It should have functioned properly before, after I got the diabetes checked. I give the world right now to just say I was dehydrated. But okay, gonna have a baby. Cool. So I have a little blob in there. Interesting. So the following Monday, I went for an ultrasound and saw this little blob. It was the cutest little peanut, and I sent the picture to Sean because he didn't go with me. I went by myself. I was like, "You know what? I'll just go by myself. It's fine. He can go to work." And I sent it to him, and no response. I was like, "Oh my God, this is my worst nightmare." Now that he's gonna leave me because I'm pregnant with, even though it's his kid, but he's gonna leave me. And not even 2 seconds later, the message pops up on my screen, not from my text that I sent him, but saying that he had posted something on Instagram that he tagged me in. I'm like, okay. So I go to look at this Instagram thing he tagged me in, supposedly. And it said, "I'm going to be a new dad," and all this stuff. This is our picture. Right now, I'm nicknaming it Zool. I'm like, "Zool from Ghostbusters? Seriously?" I'm like, "Okay." So he was excited. And I still had time, like, "Oh my God, this is weird. I'm going to have a baby." So for a while, we always called this little blob Zool. I called it the alien. He called it Zool. Occasionally I'd call it Zool, but I called it the alien more than anything. So, being said, like, I had to check my sugars 4 times a day as opposed to twice a day like I was before I found out I was pregnant. And eventually, because my fasting sugars from the time I was done eating at night to the time in the morning weren't going down, I had to take insulin. My biggest fear. I did not want to take insulin, but if I had to, I had to. And finally, at this point in time, I finally got a dietitian to tell me how to control my diabetes. I didn't really need it at this point, but it was nice to have that little boost of confidence and support, whatever you want to call it. So I was taking the insulin. Finally, my numbers and everything were getting where they should be while being pregnant, which are totally different than what they are when you're not pregnant as a diabetic. And they told me with my spinal problems and my spinal stenosis that basically I can't give birth naturally. I would probably have to get a C-section done. Okay, whatever I gotta do, I gotta do. I eventually told my mom that following Friday, after finding out I was pregnant, she was over the top excited. And she's like, "I can't keep this from your father. I can't keep this from your father. He's going to be so excited," and all this. I was like, "All right." I'm like, "We'll do it Sunday." She's like, "But I want to tell him now. You got to tell him." I was like, "No." So that Sunday, anyway, we all went out to dinner for Sean's birthday at Bovino's Pizzeria. And I got my dad a card, a promotion card, and it says, "You've been promoted to grandpa." My dad was so excited, and Sean goes, "Yeah, I'm gonna be old though when I have this kid. I'm gonna be 43." And my dad's like, "I was 43 when when Kate had Bobby." And so he shut Sean right up. It was pretty funny. And then after we told my dad, we went and told the people that own Bovino's that we know personally. They're also good friends of ours, Ed and Karen. Best pizza place around in East Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania. If you guys ever want good pizza, go there. Um, so everybody was getting excited. We told my brothers. They were ecstatic. I told Sarah. She was over the top excited. And everybody was really excited. Like, oh my God, there's going to be a baby and all this stuff. And I'm like excited, but everybody I would talk to for the first couple weeks, like, oh, what do you want, a boy or a girl? I'm like, a pug or a Boston Terrier. Then they would laugh and they thought I was joking. Honestly, I really wasn't. That's what I wanted, but I would have taken whatever was healthy. So that following week, I went for all this blood work, like 50 million different tests, and one of which was for cystic fibrosis, to see if I was a carrier, and one was for SMA or spinal muscular atrophy. And so I finally got all the results back within a couple weeks of all of them. And the one for the cystic fibrosis came back. I wasn't a carrier. I'm fine. As far as the SMA test, it came out I was a carrier. Where I was scared to death because my one girlfriend, her sister's daughter had it and passed away at 7 weeks old from it. So I was hysterical, to say the very least. And the one nurse, Ivana, from maternal fetal medicine, she calmed me down. She goes, well, we can always have Sean get tested and everything. And if he's not a carrier, you should be fine. Because according to studies, they say if both parents are carriers of the SMA, the chances of your child having SMA is a 1 in 4 chance. And as far as if he's not a carrier and I'm a carrier, there's a 1 in 100,000 chance. So every day I prayed and prayed and prayed that when Sean got the blood work done, that he was not a carrier. So we finally get the results of his SMA test, and it came back he was not a carrier. I thank God every day that he was not a carrier, and it makes me feel good if we go and try again. He's not going to be a carrier. So during the 12-week ultrasound, we also had to meet with a genetic counselor because of our age and stuff like that, and me with my diabetes and my spinal bifida and everything else. So they had offered us to either we could do an amniocentesis test to see if the baby would have Down syndrome, or we could just get the blood work done. And with this blood work, they could also tell the sex, and they would get the results within 1 to 2 weeks. And they said with the amniocentesis test, it could cause miscarriages. I was like, I'm gonna do the blood work. It's less of a chance for a miscarriage. And they're like, okay. And when they did this test, they did the nucleotranslucency test as well. And they said everything seemed fine with the nucleotranslucency and everything, so not to worry. Because Sean came with me with this one, and he's watching the ultrasound, thinking it's the coolest thing in the world. And I remember so well in this ultrasound, they went to snap this really good picture they had of her. And as they are about to do this, take this picture, she does a somersault. And it was the most hilarious thing you've seen. Luckily, unfortunately, you couldn't see it on camera, but it's my fondest memory of all the ultrasounds I've had of her. She was very active. She was crazy. So a couple weeks later, after my blood work and everything, they call me up and tell me we got the blood results back. There's no Down syndrome. I was so happy. I was like, oh, this is awesome. And you're having a healthy baby girl. I was so excited. I was over the top excited. And we're trying to think of names for her. And I wanted for the longest time Autumn Sky. And then the one day, Sean calls me up. He's at work and he's like, I thought of the perfect name for her. I said, what's that? He goes, Marigold Starling. Marigold Starling. And he goes, Marigold because of the Nirvana song and plus it's a fall flower. I'm like, okay, I like that. It's different. And Starling, he goes, oh, it's a blackbird and everything. I'm like, well, maybe, we'll see. I wasn't too fond of Starling, but we'll we'll figure it out. We have still another, at this point in time, like 6 months to go. So the one time, a couple of days later, me and my mom went out to lunch, and we were talking to my mom's girlfriend Terry, and we were talking about her, seeing how Terry's mom was doing, and she's like, not good. Terry's mom was since diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and I was thinking, I'm like, Terry, what's her name? And she goes, Anne. And I'm thinking to myself, Marigold Anne. That's it. I said, Terry, I'm going to name my daughter after your mom. It's going to be Marigold Anne. And she's like, I love it. It's beautiful. So after I get off the phone with Terry, I real quickly texted Sean. I said, I got it. It's going to be Marigold Anne instead of Marigold Starling. He's like, okay. So we settled on the name Marigold Anne. And now that we found out that we were having a girl, I was going to every single thrift shop, every single flea market, every single yard sale, buying her clothes and clothes and clothes. My mom had bought her tons of clothes too, from Boscov's, Macy's, you name it, she probably bought it from there. Burlington. Like one of the outfits we bought for her at Burlington was my best friend has paws. And then I was going to order from Amazon. It says from fur mama to baby mama, but I never had gotten a chance to yet. And so it was getting really exciting. I had found her a pair of, at a thrift shop, a pair of Carhartt overalls. We were so excited. And a friend of ours had given us a crib and everything. So everything was going great. And in the 14 week, we had the Doppler ultrasound, and they went to hear her heartbeat. And they went to the left side, couldn't hear it. Went to the right side, couldn't hear it. She's like, I know she's alive in there because she's moving around like crazy. I'm like, leave it to my girl to move around like crazy. So she finally gets to the middle, and then she hears her heartbeat. She goes, there it is. Can you hear it? I said, yeah. She goes, that's her heartbeat. I was so excited. I had heard her heartbeat, and it was the happiest day of my life. And I will never forget when I heard her heartbeat. I thought the somersault was cool. This was even cooler. It all went downhill on Mother's Day of 2021. And we will get back to that in tomorrow's video. Have a great night, everyone. Love you. Peace.